Oh
Oh
my
my gosh.
gosh.
I did it again. I got it. I got it. There you guys go. I'm not muted anymore. I had the microphone off. Yep. Pretty quick, you'll say we've got sound. I do that a lot. Let's see here. So,
Well, hello everybody.
hello. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I'm looking for someone to tell me they can hear me now. Let me see here. Anybody? Anybody hear me? Oh, hello there, says Ezo. Okay. All right, loud and clear. That's what happens when you turn your microphone on, huh? Anyway, what I was
Why do
saying,
you turn it off?
because I'm me and I don't like my camera open when I'm sitting here working, and I don't like my microphone on when I'm sitting here working. I don't know who's listening to me. It's just weird, you know. That's all. Just let me be me and do it my
Okay.
way. Okay?
Yeah. You do you.
Anyway, what we were saying is the farm's super busy, lots of harvesting. You're gonna get sick of tomato pictures. My work's been super busy, so I've been spending a lot of time doing that, and I'll talk a little bit about that today. Too politically, it's been busy around here. A lot going on. I'm trying to figure out what how I want to address our county commission, and so maybe you guys will have some good ideas for me tonight, which would be super. I think super cool. Let's real quick. Let's get some hellos in. Let's see here. Jules was the first one in. Says, please remember to show your heart and hit that like button. Thank you, Jules. Kent, as always, says, welcome, freedom fighters, to another evening of a regular scheduled unprogramming information get together. Happy Friday, tag and being everyone. No live is Cleet.
Without a pack rat.
Yep, and my good buddy Scott is in the house. I hope to see you guys Sunday. Good to see you, though, for sure. Kara Davis is here. Good to see you. Half Bubble Off Plum says, and I love this. Evening all, listening while driving. Just left a community meeting regarding an upcoming county board meeting. What's the hot topic of your guys' board meeting? So for us, it's property tax. But let us know.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Silver Lining says, here for a Friday night, life done free. Hope everyone is doing well. Jane Marie, welcome in. Bessie Darla, welcome in. Let's see here. Harry Kent Hempworth and Miss Paula says, are here from East Texas, or East Tennessee, sorry. Kent was humbled by last week's Tag and B's spontaneous rendition of Happy Birthday. And then a whole bunch of I can't hear. I'm going to skip those. Yep, there we go. Let's see here. Okay, loud and clear. There we got them. We're getting them. Indiana Mike says it's Mute and Be Live. If you say that real fast, it's Mutiny Live.
Mutiny.
Mutiny Live, right?
Mutiny.
Okay. Mary Michelle, welcome in. Oh, he says sound volume is still low. Well, let me see what we can do. Well, here. How about that? I've got it up as good as it's going to get. So let's see here. Will Be Cool says, hi, folks. Volume is low. Ryan, Courtney, Yo, and Finn are all watching tonight. Ryan the Matador. What is up,
still
guys?
only one dot.
Yeah. No, it's all right. Let me see if I can real quick here.
Why don't you push this forward?
I'll play with the audio a little bit. See what it says here. That says a little better on the volume. Let me see what I can do here real quick. That says it's doing okay.
I think that's better.
How about that? No, that's about. Maybe. Hello, hello, hello. What's that one? Hello, hello, hello. That one's better. Anyway, I hope that's okay. Where are we at here? Silver Lining gave me a thumb up. Indiana Mike said thumbs up. Amy B says fresh carrot cake muffins warm out of the oven with cream cheese icing. Yummy.
Yum.
Where are we at here? Half Bubble Off Plum says may have to catch the replay. Hard to hear in the truck. Scott says sounds good. Nick and I will see you on Sunday. Wonderful. It's not an audio problem. We're just getting old and deaf, says Instigator. Instigator, welcome in. There's actually some truth in that, you know. But anyway, all right. I'll catch up on anybody else as they come in. But got to remember to lean into the mic here, huh?
This is the first live that you didn't say and the greatest name on the internet.
Really? Did I miss that? Oh my goodness. And the greatest name on the internet?
Half Bubble Fun.
I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm getting slow. Instigator's right. Because, you know, we're kind of all getting old. So what I want to talk to you guys about was the political stuff. Let's start there. Because I think that's really important stuff. So our county commission is going to raise the mill levy, which in turn raises the property tax and the amount that you pay.
Sounds like fun.
Yep. And last year they remained revenue neutral, which means they didn't raise them. Now, that's such a misleading thing because they didn't raise the taxes, but the values on all the houses went up, which means the taxes went up anyway. And then the school raises their mill levy, and so the taxes go up anyway. But the commission themselves, the county, did not raise taxes last year. The year before that, they did. So we have a revenue neutral meeting to give the commissioners our feedback about them raising the property taxes in a mill levy increase coming up here on the 26th. So this is my question that I have for you. So the county represents 57% of your property tax. So 50 cents on the dollar. Okay. So for every dollar in property tax we pay, 57 cents of it goes to the county commissions. Basically, they have three buckets, and that's the sheriff, the road and bridge, and then the general fund. So we're talking about 57% of it. They cut all of their department's budgets this year except the sheriff's department, which is going to go up. And so they did a bunch of cutting. And obviously, I'm going to tell them that, you know, tax is theft, and I'm going to tell them that, you know, property tax is the worst of all of them. But I think I should probably thank them for the cuts that they made. What do you think? I've been debating it in my head. I'm not real happy about it, but at the same time, we got to find a way to work together.
Well, I think it depends on what kind of cuts they made. Like, if it looks like they made an effort to do cuts, then yes. But if they, like, took a cat program and a old lady program and then that's it, then that's kind of...
Yeah, I need to make sure I find that out. Maybe that would make the difference.
Well, yeah, I think that...
Hey, Nitos, welcome in. Terminator, welcome in. I got the rest of them. Okay. Go ahead.
What kind of cuts were made?
Yeah.
What are they proposing?
Yeah,
because for all three to go up, that's a significant jump.
Well, if they raise
in the pocketbook.
Yeah, if they raise the mill levy the way they're talking about raising the mill levy, it will go up. The mill levy will go up 10%. And then if the schools raise the mill levy, that's more. Mm-hmm. Right? And there's some other taxing entities in a county, like the fire department, the cemetery would be two of them. I'm sure there's something I'm missing in there, but let's see here. Harry Davis says, suck up when needed. I don't know that it's, I kind of feel like what I need to do is kiss them and slap them and then kiss them and, you know, try to help. But at the same time, you know, it just cannot continue like this, guys. The taxes across our country, there's some places like in Utah, there was a place that raised the property tax 400%. And the council passed it.
How can people, how do you keep your property?
There's no cap on it. The problem is the way the rule works is if they're going to exceed revenue neutral, all they have to do is hold a meeting. And if they hold a meeting and let the people talk at the end of the meeting, they can vote it in. And there's really nothing that we can do about it. So I'm sure most of you are experiencing property taxes increases. Would that be an accurate statement? I bet it is. You know. So anyway, we get to go fight that again. It's coming up on the 26th, 5 days from now. And I'm hoping we pack the house, and I'm sure that we will.
We need to.
Well, got to get people to go. It blows me away how people bitch and moan about taxes all over our county, and they complain. And then they cut something, and then, you know, some percentage of the population is like, oh, you shouldn't have cut that.
Right.
You know?
Don't put the one I want.
Yeah, because, you know, they cut all of the general fund and road and bridge. So the general fund would be like the treasurer's office and the, you know, the deeds office and, you know, the appraiser's office and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so they cut all that. They cut road and bridge. But it's crazy to me. I have someone in my life who they have a CAT program where you want to explain it because you know better than I do.
Trap, neuter, release.
Yeah, trap, neuter, release. So if someone will trap them, they can drop them off. They will neuter them. The county will pay. The taxpayer somehow pays for it. And then, but
they release them.
They bring them right back to where they found them and release them. And so property tax is up and up and up and up and up. And then this person said to me, well, they cut anything but the cats.
Yeah.
You know.
We need the cat program.
Yeah. If you guys are tired of property taxes, what you really have to do is come to the realization and the acceptance that you're going to get less services. Now, for me, I love that idea. I want way less services.
Well,
I
you don't get services.
Well,
You don't take services.
yeah. Well, I do for myself, and so for me, it'll work out just fine. But hey, Mrs. Hacks, how are you? Welcome in. So anyway, what do you guys think? Should I just blast them, or should I kind of kiss them? I'm kind of leaning towards that. Hey, Mo Engineers in. What's going on? Mo says, pick a building on your land and burn it to the ground. No increase. Do it to enough places and it makes a point. I actually have one I could burn down, even though it's not that old. But Amy says, we moved in 10 years ago. 1 month later, it doubled. Oh my goodness. Yeah, ours in 5 years has gone from $2,000 a year to $7,000 a year in 2 years. And I'm sorry, in 5 years. Oh.
Well, because you're talking about the property after it was, the house after it was built.
Yeah, Instigator said compliment them. It's good form and will likely make them nervous. That's actually probably true. Postmodern Soapbox, how are you? Says less services is fine. Yep, less services is fine. What that means though is that roads won't have as much gravel on them, right? Some of the lower traveled roads will get even less attention.
Less mowed.
Yep, the ditches will be less mowed. The noxious weeds, they won't be spraying as much for them. You know, obviously how they lower because they're still going to want to collect taxes. So 40% of the general fund exists purely for the purposes of collecting taxes. So I'm sure they'll keep that 40% intact. Would you agree?
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah. So maybe they'll won't buy new equipment and they'll start buying used equipment. I don't know.
Well, they don't need any more trucks.
No, maybe not.
They think they bought new trucks every year.
Yeah. Postmodern Soapbox says ours doubled the first 2 years we were here. Yeah. How do they expect people to make it? You know, there's a big petition going around in my county and a lot of counties where we live that's going around about trying to tell the commissioners don't do this. And it's interesting to me. I love reading the comments. And so I went up and down. There's a lot of people in there going, hey, we're on a fixed income. Don't do this to us. You know,
Right, that's what I'm saying. How are people going to do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
They were talking about people who were using their credit cards to pay
Property tax.
I thought it was payments on other credit cards.
Oh, who was?
Well, you were just talking about this.
I was talking about the government doing it. That's what they're doing. But I'll get into that.
That sucks.
No, it does suck. Yeah. Mrs. Hack says Darren's brother pays $15,000 in taxes. Well, it's relative though, right, Mrs. Hacks? I mean, how much land, how big a house, how much? Because, you know, I know there's people, you know, who own 1,000 acres of land. I bet you that property tax is a big number, but
I don't think he has 1,000 acres of land.
I don't know. Hey, Mark says club the school board for salary increases. Yeah, I'm interested to see. As I understand it, I talked to one of their board members today, just real briefly, and they haven't made a decision on whether they're going to raise the meal levy yet or not. But they have a meeting coming up. I think it's like September 18th or something like that. I think.
When do they have to know by? I mean,
well, they've got the rest of the calendar year to implement anything they do. So I would imagine they would want all the time they could get, right? Because work, you know, things would have to be done. But anyway, how many of you guys are going out to your county commissioner meetings and your school board meetings and throwing a fit?
getting involved.
And if you don't, you really, really, really need to, because it does a whole lot of really cool things for you. One, it lets them know you're watching, and just simply knowing that the citizens are paying attention solves a whole bunch of problems. You know, it doesn't make it perfect, but it definitely solves a whole bunch of problems. The other thing is maybe you actually make change. Right? And, you know, we've had some success here making some change. But the other thing, it also helps you build relationships, and those relationships are your insulation. You know, we've talked many times about insulate, not isolate, right? We don't want to be isolationists. I think that's a bad idea. But if we can insulate ourselves, and I think you can do that with that, you know, that kind of outer ring of the circle.
Yeah.
And you make some good friends along the way, and, you know, which is really cool. Let's see here. Mrs. Hack says, no land, just house. You can literally see inside the next door neighbor's house. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Stan. Stan says, our school tax vote is Tuesday. Ag land or conservation land is taxed less, yes. way less. RN, welcome in. So anyway, that's what's going on from a political standpoint. There's also some stuff coming up, some lawsuits and stuff that we're going to be paying attention to. Then we've got the election coming up in November, and we have somebody running that's very close to our community, and so that will be for the county commissioner role. Now that'll be pretty cool. What else they can vote? Oh, they're going to put. Remember, I told you that they got the sales tax voted down here.
Yep.
Right, they were going to add a sales tax, additional sales tax in, and they decided to put that item in the primary election instead of in the general election. And I think the theory, this is me purely speculating, but I think the theory is that they thought that if they put it in the primary, that their demographic of voter would be more likely to turn out. And so obviously that's why they would do that. But in the end, it failed, and so they've elected they're going to put it in the general election again. Isn't that crazy? How is it that we can vote something down, and then in 2 months from then they can just put it right back on the ballot with more marketing? Let's give it some more marketing. Yeah.
Well, we just went through this whole tax thing with our house.
Mhm.
We went through. They came with
It's ironic.
They just came through with drones and said that the house was in better shape than what they had thought, so they had upped the value of it.
Yeah.
And without coming out. And then we said no, we don't agree. So they said, okay, we'll take like $600 off.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 months later, now they're saying, oh, we're gonna raise everything again.
Yeah. So what I gained, I lost plus some.
Plus some.
Yeah. Right. How ironic is that? You go and you it's called paying under protest.
I think every single time now you should just go through the whole process every single time.
I'm sure you do.
Because that way it's just a big pain in the butt.
How about we trade off years? 1 year you do it, 1 year I do
We'll
it.
go together. We'll hold hands.
No, 1 year you do it, 1 year I do it. Would be great. What do you think?
I think that it would look better if we were both there.
Yeah. Well, how come you didn't go last time?
I don't know. I really don't. Let's talk about it next time.
Let's talk about it next time. Anyway, when you protest your taxes, it's called paying under protest. When you go in to pay them, they make you pay them. So when you go in to pay them, you say, hey, I want to pay this under protest, and they give you a document to fill out, and then you fill out the document, and then the county appraiser schedules a meeting with you, and you get to plead your case. And so, when I went in there, I went down the off-grid road and said, look, there's only this percentage of buyers in America buy off-grid. There's only this many percentage of homes that are off-grid homes. These are why my house isn't like a modern house. This is why it wouldn't have a good resale value, blah, blah, blah. And you go through the whole thing. And like I said, they lowered it a little bit, but then they took it right back a couple months later. So,
yeah.
Let's see here. Nito says the areas of the county where the taxes are going up so sharply are cutting their own throats in the long run. Yes, they are. Half Bubble Off promises we have one coming up with our Board of Commissioners on Tuesday. Want to charge us a fee for storm water, rain based on impervious areas on your property. Crazy.
Fees for storm water.
Yeah, like what gives them the authority over the stormwater? Is us voting for them give them the authority that they own the sky and they own the water that falls from the sky? I mean, it's implied authority, and by just them implying authority the way that works, that means if I can get a big enough group together, I can own everything, right? Because it's just self-imposed, implied, authority. Hey, Mandy, welcome in. Good to see you. One step closer. Good to see you as well. Amy says, Jaff Bubble Off Plum, will they give rebates for swells and capture and sequester water or application of biochar? Great question. Packrat says, more marketing paid for with your tax dollars to sell the idea of paying more taxes. Right. On a measure that already failed once. Right.
He just has a way of making you feel nice and warm and happy.
That's why No Live is complete. Right.
Yeah.
Without backpack. Right. That's funny. Anyway, you want to get some pictures?
Sure.
All right. Anyway, last point on this, you guys go get involved. It's really important. It serves a lot of great purposes. And if the question is in your head, well, I don't know how to get involved. Listen, pick a topic, the schools, right? The county, the whatever, and go learn.
Property taxes,
whatever it is, go learn. Start researching. become a subject matter expert on that one topic and then get 6 friends to do the same thing with you. And then go do it. It's super, super, super important. Sir, friends, welcome in. Then we had rainwater tax in Maryland. There was such an uproar, they rescinded it. I bet.
Yes, like that. That makes sense.
Tag, do you have cemeteries? If not, make your entire property a cemetery. Yeah, we do have local cemeteries, and I've read a little bit about that. I don't really know how it would work here, but that is interesting for sure. Let's see here. Mowing would be hell. RN. I must have missed something. David Strom, welcome in, bud. Good to see you. All right,
The
anyway.
cemeteries.
So this was our harvest a couple days ago, and B drives around in our B machine and puts crates in the front of it, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Makes it super long.
Makes it super long?
Yeah, I mean, when you put the front thing on,
Oh.
it makes it long.
No, not really.
I
Just
think
a
it does.
Couple feet.
Anyway, there's 3 crates of tomatoes there, 1 of squash and watermelon, and 1 of elderberry, and we are closing in on being done with the elderberry. And I have to tell you something, I am so excited. I am.
Are you tired of being in the
I'm
kitchen?
tired of elderberry.
But not tomato?
I'm pretty tired of tomato too.
Just waiting for that squash to come.
No, it's the pears I'm excited about. Anyway.
Pears are in the fridge.
Yeah, so basically we drive around and we harvest whatever's to be harvested that day. And then from here we drive down to the community building, right?
Yep.
And we
try to
begin put it up.
tend to it.
Whether it's make like tomatoes, make spaghetti sauce or salsa or whatever it is. The elderberry, whether it's syrup or jam or cough syrup, again whatever it is. We go through that process down there and try to get it done by the end of the day, and that's the race every single day.
Yeah.
Let's see here. One Step Closer says most HOAs have to beg people to be reps. It's a good place to get started. At the very least, you can work to keep them from being too nosy. 100%. If you have an HOA, I think you should be involved in the HOA. 100%. Let me see here. Badunk. You agree?
Yep.
Badunk. How many acres you got? I have 40. Let's see here.
Well, you have 20 and I have 20.
You know what? I'm really proud you said that. Because what I really expected you to say is I have 39 and you have 1.
That's what I should have said.
Yeah. But, so you go and harvest all of this stuff, but you also got to go and get caught up with the other stuff you've already harvested. So for one of the things we have been struggling getting all the way through is the potatoes, because there's so many tomatoes all the time and there's so many other things all the time that we get.
Well, like weekly. The tomatoes are weekly.
Yeah, and the potatoes last a ways, so they kind of get pushed to the back burner. But not today. B managed to get some of them out and decided that what she was going to do is dehydrate hash browns. Yeah, you want to talk about it?
A dehydrated hash brown.
Yeah.
Yesterday I took whatever would fit in the water bath canner and boiled them like 5 minutes and then take them out. And the picture beforehand when they were in the strainers like all sprawled out, that was them trying to cool outside. The second picture is actually washing them beforehand, and then this first picture is after they were cooked, because you can see how a couple of them broke a little bit. But I'm trying to cool them off, putting them in strainers too.
And why do you cook them?
One, so that when you go to shred them, they don't turn brown. It releases the starch in them so that they don't turn colors when you shred them for hash browns. And then you boil them just for like 5 minutes, take them out, cool them off as soon as possible, put them in the fridge overnight or 2, and then you can send them through the food processor and they'll shred up. And
that's your next picture that you do in the food processor.
And then, yep, food processor. And then I just put them on the rack has too big a hole, so I have some mesh liners that go over the rack, and that's what I use. Sometimes I use, like with the potato or the tomato skins, I use a piece of parchment paper, but I did not do that this time, and I'm hoping I don't regret it because if the potatoes are like smashed into the grate of the mesh, I don't want to have to try to like poke the potato out of the mesh.
Man, you have
I
some,
try to keep them as clean as possible because I don't want to have to like scrub at them.
you know, I was going to say, man, you got some first world problems.
I know.
But then I started thinking about it. Wait a second. Preserving food's probably a third world problem. Maybe it's first and third world
Well,
problems. Maybe.
big O.
Yeah, Mrs. Hack says my
Equipment.
juicer strainer is still not here. Yeah, we got some. I got a picture in here of the juicer, and what she's talking about is last Sunday when we did our, we get together, try to once a week.
Steam
But
juicer.
yeah, so B was, while it was all going on, was steam juicing elderberries, right? Is that what you're doing? Yeah, elderberry. I got the pictures of it, but anyway, a lot of the girls specifically were pretty impressed with what a steamer like that and how it worked, and so that's what she's
How
referring to.
easy it was to.
Yeah, she ordered one. The king himself, Jeff Juicy Hefty Lefty Amazon Mud Dog or Slick, is in the house. Yeah, let's see here.
He's mowing.
Our ends is finally getting our first real rain in about 10 days. Yay. Yeah, good for you. Yeah,
But it smells good.
Gypsy said Louisa's arrived today, again referring to the steam juicer.
Oh, now she's going to be using it.
Yeah. David says, do you grow any sweet potatoes?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Silver Lining says sound.
The sound went off.
Sound could not have gone off. There, let's try that. That might even be better. Anyway, let's see here. Okay.
Yeah, I have a couple sweet potatoes.
She's got a huge mound of sweet potatoes.
I have plenty to share
Yes.
with a few friends.
Amen to that. All right.
Here's the hash browns. This is what's going on right now. And when I've put the first rack in, I went ahead and started it. So between the first rack and the last rack, there's probably an hour difference in there, at least.
So tomorrow morning when you go down there, this will be all done.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Excellent.
They should be way done,
Excellent.
especially that top rack.
How many potatoes do you think's in that?
There's 8 per rack.
8 potatoes on every rack?
Yes, they're little red ones though. I used all of the littler red ones.
Okay, well, that's smart. That's great.
I
Great,
used
great,
the
great.
littlest ones that I could find.
That seems like the sound's a lot better. Good. Hey, gratitude to Grace. Welcome in, Grace. And Dig Dug, if he happens to be with you. Yeah, everyone says sound is fine. All right, cool. What else did we do?
Apples. We took the apples and we used the steam juicer and made apple juice. And then we took the juice and we made apple jelly. And then we took the pulp from the steam juicer and we made apple sauce. And then we took the rest of the apples and canned them for apple pie filling.
And you missed one.
Oh, the apple vinegar. Okay, so I don't know what I'm doing there, and it does not smell like vinegar. It smells like alcohol. And it's popped the top off again.
Thistle Creek, welcome in. Says I just got in from riding my colt and finishing up chores. Yeah, it's definitely the time of night to be out doing chores for sure. Well,
Oh, it's nice out right now.
right, so there's your apple juice.
That's the juice.
It came out lighter than I thought.
What do you mean?
It's not as dark as
Like you wanted it to be browner?
It's yeah, maybe a little more golden, or I don't know what word I would use. I mean, it's just real apple juice, right? I mean, it don't have anything in it, so
Yeah, no, it's just apple.
Yep,
I mean, that's the color of an apple, really.
that's true.
The inside
That's true.
with the tint of the red skins and such. No, we didn't have skin.
Yeah, if you see that picture of B all the way on the right, that's the juicer, the steam canning juicer, whatever you want to call it. And you can see it's filling up her, the apples are up in the top of that thing, and it's filling up the jar. And that's what we ended up with, was 1 gallon of it. And as she mentioned before, we made, let me go with that one. We'll start there.
That's the jelly.
Apple jelly.
And
then
then
you made
that's the
vinegar.
vinegar.
Right, so working on vinegar.
/ alcohol.
and there's the applesauce and the apple pie filling, right?
Yep.
So there really was, other than little rotten parts and stuff that we cut out, nothing was wasted. 100% of
No.
it was used, which is great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Guys have seen all that. Why does it do that? Anyway, I was going to show a picture of you harvesting elderberries.
Elderberries.
So
Yeah, we got 3.
almost 3 gallons.
Yeah,
Little bit.
that was like 2 cups down from.
3 gallons.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about what you're making with all of this?
Well, we took 1. So there's 2 gallons still in the fridge, and then we took 1 gallon and made apple jam. No, apple jelly. Not apple. Elderberry. We made elderberry jelly with monk fruit because we were trying to make it like sugar-free, more like diabetic friendly. And it said that the monk fruit could crystallize in the jar after you jelly it and jar it and process it, that it could crystallize in the jar. And the jar that I had opened, and I was like, why did I open that jar? Oh, I made ice cream with it. So I opened it up and it had crystallized. There are crystals of like sugary pieces in the jelly.
Yeah, Amy says vinegar takes about a month. I'll put it up there. Says vinegar takes about a month. Shake it daily. Once it stops bubbling, check the pH with test paper for less than 4.
So I did shake it daily, and I rinsed that because it keeps popping the lid off. I rinsed the lid so that it's not there's no pieces of food on the outside of the jar because it's fruit flies. So I took off any of the brown stuff that was on the front, on the top, that hadn't been submerged because I didn't want that to be mixed in. So I'd taken that off, and then I'd shaken it real good, and then I pushed all the pieces down, and then I rinsed it all off, and then I put it back on the counter with a tray underneath it because it keeps, again, popping the lid off. And one of them, both of them are still light colored, like the pieces aren't dark, the liquid isn't dark, but one of them smells like beer and the other one does not. So I was like, but now what?
I think we wait a month and see. Right?
It's going to get rank.
There's a bunch of jokes right there, but I think I'll leave it. So we got 3 gallons this time. We got 2 gallons last time. So our elderberry harvest has yielded us almost 5 gallons of elderberry juice, right, for this year, and we're pretty much done. There's a little bit still out on the branches, but
and we've shared elderberries with others. They've come and harvested and take home. So we've gotten quite a bit of elderberries out of these bushes this year.
The Silver Lining wants to know: is it bubbling?
Yes, both of them are bubbling, like burping, like like there's air pockets in it, and it's like releasing them.
Yeah, Instigator says Homer Simpson voice, beer. So, and then we get to make lots of cool things out of it. So you made some jelly.
Yes, this was the monk fruit jelly, and I sent it home with Jennifer, and she turned around and very next day was eating it with her bagels.
Yeah, Mrs. Hack says they put cheesecloths over their jars so they burp. To let the pressure out.
Oh, no lids.
Yeah. And Silver Lining says it just takes time. So why did you make sugar-free elderberry jelly or jam or whatever it is? And why did you make sugar-free elderberry ice cream?
There's people that cannot have sugar, and so we were trying to accommodate those people that were trying to be more conscientious.
So if there's anybody in the
sugar
audience
intake.
listening that frequents get-togethers and stuff around here, B has made elderberry
Sugar-free.
monk fruit
monk fruit, yeah.
ice cream and elderberry monk fruit jam. So the end, pancake syrup, have you done that yet?
Not
with the
monk
monk
fruit.
Okay. So you can have some desserts. How cool is that?
And I have a surprise. One of the neighbors is going to bring over some sourdough bread for
Okay.
the community to share, to taste the jam if they want to.
Oh, love that. When's that happening?
Sunday.
Oh, cool. Excellent.
She's going to make fresh bread and bring it over.
Cool. Excellent. Indiana Mike says fermenting for moonshine and making vinegar are opposite processes that use different microbes and oxygen levels. Moonshine requires an oxygen-free environment for yeast to turn sugar into alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I've never really gotten into that much, but let's see here. Gratitude Grace says pure monk fruit extract should not crystallize. If it has erythritol,
Pure
erythritol,
monk fruit extract should not crystallize.
will cause it to crystallize.
If
Interesting.
it has erythritol or allulose, will cause it to crystallize.
Gainsborough says
Probably had one in it.
you have to look when you get down there next. This is brand new for us. I was walking dogs, had to run back to a laundromat, forgot the dog pads. Vinegar requires constant oxygen for bacteria to turn alcohol into acid.
Oh.
Gypsy says some of us are not supposed to eat sugar. Yeah.
Not supposed to.
Well, there's people who don't eat sugar, Jeff. And there's people who are not supposed to eat sugar but do eat sugar.
I was trying to be accommodating to those who want to eat sugar but are not supposed to eat sugar.
You're giving them an alternative?
Trying to.
Yeah. You know you're getting old when you start making that kind of stuff.
No, I guess I need to find some pure monk fruit.
So basically this was what was on the front of her card that I showed you guys earlier. One thing of elderberry, which we did. We just showed you guys the jams. And then 3 things of tomatoes, different kinds of tomatoes. And then some watermelon and zucchini and, no, not zucchini, cucumber and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was what we went.
Cucumbers, watermelons.
Yes. That's what we set out to harvest. Isn't this a beautiful picture?
Yeah.
Just tell them what's going on, but what a beautiful picture.
I'm over cutting tomatoes. They're washing tomatoes and then bringing the tomatoes over for me to cut. And then, I think Emma Mar was cutting and I was doing the squeezo. So we all had a station that we were trying to kind of get it all done.
Yeah. I think that is like the
And when we have to,
picture of the year.
we have to accommodate the littles.
No, this is the main sink inside the community center. And also, what's community center, 4 times a month most of the time. And the rest of the time it's a big processing kitchen. But
Yeah.
right. But isn't that cool? Just an absolute beautiful picture, I think. Love everything about that. No, little kids standing inside the sink helping. Isn't that just awesome?
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exceptional. It's exceptional in every single way,
Just helping.
Yep, just helping. And with enthusiasm.
Playing with the water.
Yep, love that.
Whoops, got wet. Yeah, look at all those tomatoes.
Yeah, and this is a week's worth of tomatoes here.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
come Monday,
Be right back.
you don't have that much to do again.
Mm-hmm. I need to go out there and pick what's ripe now.
Oh,
and
wait a
bring
second.
them
You
in.
have one of your buddies coming over Monday or something to pick all the tomatoes. So we get to skip a week.
Well, we should still be picking them and bringing them in because as they're breaking, the guineas are going out there and
okay.
pecking. And so
Okay. Got it,
in
got it,
order
got it.
for there to be a nice big harvest,
Okay.
we need to keep up on it.
So, but this week's tomatoes are going to do another
Yes.
homestead. So we get to skip a week on the
Of
tomatoes.
the tomatoes.
Which means we can get back to the potatoes
Squash.
and the pears,
Yeah.
and the squash goes to the animals.
No, we
Right.
gotta get out there and plant our winter crop of squash and
It's
melons.
time to do that if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And what'd you make here?
So all of those tomatoes we had first made a batch of sauce to go to one homestead, and they got to taste and what I want a little bit more of this or less of that, and then another homestead came in and they got a case to take home, and they were able to come and stay and taste, and yeah, I like this, no, I don't like that, oh, a little bit more of this, okay, perfect, let's go ahead and can it or jar it.
Yeah.
And then I got 10 jars, so we got 2 cases and 10 jars. So one case went to one homestead,
talk
one
about
case went to one
each
homestead.
batch and what each person wanted in them compared to
Well,
how
the
it
first
was
batch
different.
had like it was a 21 quart canner, and it had I think like 6 onions and 6 garlics, garlic bulbs, and then we did the water bath canner from Lehman's. It holds 15 jars. So that first case we got done that first day, and 3 of the next case. So that second homestead got 2 different batches,
Okay.
2 different flavors.
Got it.
Because that first that first batch had quite a bit of garlic and onions in it. And then there was a little bit left of that, and we took it and put it into the second batch.
Okay.
So it had started with a little bit of garlic and onions from the first batch.
Got it.
And then we just continued to add more, squeezoed more, put it in, squeezoed more, put it in. And then we just keep boiling it down, putting more in, boiling it down. And then adding the spices. And we were like, okay, yep, that tastes good. Go ahead. We got 15 jars out. Bottle it up or jar it up, and then can it, process it.
So all of those tomatoes made, because there's 12 jars in a case, right?
Yeah.
Plus you had 10 left over.
Yeah.
So 34. So if we go back 1 week's, so
Right
those
there.
tomatoes you see right there represent 34 quart jars, right?
Plus, this where your cursor is, all the little, like not all of them, but quite a few little ones from this batch. So that was 30 quart jars or 34 quart jars, plus several other quart jars of fermented,
The little ones.
yeah, fermented little ones.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can find that picture. I have that picture in here.
Yeah.
Right.
So right here. So so if you go back one, she took the basil, the tomatoes. So she took those and then put them into the jars in the next picture. And puts like a salt brine in there. And so it's fermenting the little ones.
Have you ever had
with
fermented tomatoes?
No. I said, I didn't know you could do that. And she goes, oh, yeah, that's delightful. So,
Has anybody in the audience ever had fermented tomatoes? Because I have never heard of such a thing.
well, and if you look at that picture, I'm pretty sure that, what is that in the bottom? Is that like no, the next picture. It's a garlic.
Garlic.
At first I thought it was a mozzarella ball. I was like, whoa, that looks nice.
Design 2C says, raising the little ones to be self-sufficient is so important. It's a lesson we can all learn from, 100%. And those kids are amazing kids. And that family has 5 kids. And I've known pretty much all of them their whole lives, except the first 2 I met when they were little kids, but not when they were born. But they've been raised, all those kids have been raised around this their whole lives, you know?
Yeah.
So, which is really pretty cool.
Homesteading, taking care of yourself.
Yeah. So then what is that picture?
So then we took the skins from the tomatoes.
Out of the squeeze strainer.
Yes.
Right.
And then I put them on the papers and sent them through the dehydrator.
And what are you going to do with them?
This is for that first 2 homesteads for them if they want to,
Do whatever they want.
yeah, if they want to grind it. So when I did it for me, I took it and put it in a jar. I don't have a coffee grinder right now. A lot of my stuff is still packed. Weird, oddly enough.
That's because you just moved in here.
12 years later. But my intent is to take them and powder them so that I can use them for other things.
Thickening.
Yeah, or
Because they'd be good at that, right?
stick it in a meatloaf or
Yeah.
put it over your chicken pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some nice tomatoes.
Yeah. I took
Look
a
how big those tomatoes are.
I think I have a picture of them all.
It's beautiful.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
You know?
Just delightful.
Yep.
Food, homegrown,
Yeah, pretty
fresh.
cool.
So we just right there take it, cut them, put them in a bowl, put them in the squeezo, which is behind her shoulder. You can't see it; it's attached to the table.
Hey, Squatchy, what's up, buddy? Hey, Chewy Girl wants to know, are the tomatoes fermented or pickled?
Fermented is she puts a salt brine on them, and I guess sits it on the counter for a while, and then they start to bubble, and then you eat them.
Yeah. Nito says, that's a good BLT tomato.
Oh yeah, that would fit a whole bread too. That would be perfect.
Design2C says, some Mexican salsas are fermented.
Oh,
I mostly just canned tomatoes. Yeah, that's all we've ever done is, well, canned and dried, right?
dried tomatoes? Canned and dried them?
That's what we've done.
Yeah. I've never, well, I guess I did try once to do that sun-dried tomatoes.
No, I'm talking about your dehydrator.
Oh, you mean the skins? We don't eat dried tomatoes, really.
No, but you've dehydrated tomatoes before.
The skins and
And the centers. In Mayetta, you used to put them in the dehydrator.
what do we do with them?
I don't have any idea what you do with them. I didn't eat them.
You think?
Yeah. Okay. That's a horrible picture. What I was going to show you is tell them about you. God,
What is
why did
it?
you do that? It's your getting sugar out of the pantry.
Oh, we had to get sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were rotating first in, first out.
Yeah. So we store our bulk stuff like sugar, some flours, some pastas, some of that stuff in 6-gallon buckets that are Mylar sealed. And so she needed sugar. And so she was down the
Oh, and one of them was pectin.
No. What happened was you asked me to go to. Here, I'm gonna get rid of this picture.
Go get a bucket of
You
sugar.
you asked me to go get a bucket of sugar, and I went up there. I drove up on my 4-wheeler and I got them. And I thought, well, if I'm gonna get 1 bucket, I might as well get 2 buckets, so that the community building's got plenty of sugar. So I
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right. I went and got 2, but when I was in the pantry looking at them, I noticed there was another bucket sitting there with pectin in it. And so the day before, B had sent me to the
So
store.
glad you found that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm so glad you found that.
She sent,
Now I know where it's at.
she sent me to the store to buy pectin just the day before, and I paid $18 for each of these 2 little containers. The whole time, she's got 6-gallon buckets in the basement full of pectin. Thanks, babe. I want to see you explain your way out of this one.
I didn't know where it was. I didn't really want to go looking for it either. I really needed just to get it done.
Squatchy says Loper makes the best fermented salsa. Design2C says small green tomatoes are wonderful pickled. Interesting. I've never really gotten
We
in.
can get green ones.
Yeah,
now.
in droves, right? How many tomato plants you plant this year? 200?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's got like 200
Something like
tomato
that.
plants. And 3 different species, right?
I think there's probably more than that.
Was I able to return them? Yes. Yeah, B took the pectin and took it back to the store, but that's, David, that's the point. She sent me, took my time, put me in a car, made me waste my gas to drive all the way in this effort to make her happy, and she never needed it anyway.
No, I didn't.
But yes, we did take them back. I think you did.
It's called busy work.
Have you taken them back yet?
I did.
Okay.
They put them back on your card.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Digital dollars.
That's good. That's good. You want to tell the story about your goose?
This stinking goose.
I think it's a great story.
I was out in the garden and I saw her. So when was this last week we got these geese?
Yeah.
Got 2 geese, 2 girl geese last week.
Thinking it would mellow the boys out.
And they've been quieter. I think that they do pay attention to the girls, and they still kind of chase us a little bit, but they're not nearly as annoying as they used to be. But I was over in the garden and she starts running, and I was like, oh no, don't, you're way farther than you should be. And so I thought that I could corner her at the corner of the front 40, and she flew over the fence and went across the street and into the ditch and over across the fence and into the neighbor's yard. So I contacted the neighbor and said, hey, like, this goose just went over into your yard. Sorry about that. And he was like, oh, no problem. And then Amber and I were in the garden. We were picking tomatoes and we heard a noise, and both of us look up, and this was like, I don't know, 3 hours later. And we look up, and here comes this goose flying all the way from the neighbor's yard. How far is that? That's 1,200 feet.
Well, it's 1,600 feet to the front gate. And then from there, you got to cross a road.
Well, that's as a crow flies, though.
Yeah. It's probably
So
2,000 feet, maybe.
she comes flying all the way over into paddock 1. And I sent a message to the neighbor and I said, never mind, like, she flew back. And he goes, I've never seen a goose like that fly more than 20 feet ever. And I'm like, she did. She absolutely did. She went over there and probably got some lunch and then turned around and hightailed it back over here. So right now she's over here. And
What did you name her?
this one's Angel.
Okay.
And the brown one's Princess.
Oh, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what happens when you let girls name animals.
Yeah.
Angel and Princess.
Angel and Princess.
Yeah.
And they don't like us. They don't allow us to touch them. Like Ryan, like the boy geese, they will come right up to us, lower their heads, arms out, and then they nip at you.
Yeah, I don't like them. Nito says, I never remember, so I have a clipboard with an inventory so I know what I have and where it is. So this makes a lot of sense, Nitos, when you're talking
That's a good
about...
idea.
Well, hold on a second, though. It's a good idea when what you're talking about is everyday items. But a 5-gallon or 6-gallon bucket of pectin, how would you forget you had that?
Well, I knew that I had pectin somewhere. I just didn't know where.
And you thought, did you ever consider that it might be in the pantry with the other buckets?
No.
My goodness. Skane's Girl says there's a way to can green tomatoes so you can fry them later.
Oh.
And Nito says that at least she knows where home is. For now.
Yeah, so far she hasn't come.
I have no idea why you sent me this picture.
Just because it was pretty. I didn't know. I didn't necessarily mean for you to put it in the live.
Okay,
I was
we'll
just
skip it.
sharing it
Tell
for
this
you.
story.
This was interesting. I was on the phone and I heard a lawnmower and I was like, well, that's weird because we don't usually hear little engines back here. And I looked outside the window and I saw this. So I had to go out the back door and look up. There was a guy in a chair with a fan on the back of it. And he was just dangling his feet down, just riding this thing around, like back and forth around our property. And then I thought he crash landed over here because it really looked like he
Came down hard?
Yeah, it looked like he hit hard.
Yeah, so what happened then?
I yelled at you and said, that guy, well, at first I thought, I heard
you
it.
said he crashed.
Yeah, I said, somebody shot at him because I heard a big pop. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody shot at him. And then I heard like nothing. And then I was like, oh no, it backfired. His engine stalled. And I'm like, you gotta go get him. You gotta go help. And I look out the side window again and I see the yellow, like, what is that? Is that a parachute? Like, boop, into the field. And I was like, he hit hard. He's going to need help. And you're like, where's my shoes? Where's my shoes?
He was just fine. He landed it perfectly safe.
Apparently he had done it before.
Yeah.
It looked like, I don't know how he could have landed without getting hurt. That would have been...
Later on, I ended up tracking down who it was. And he had flown from Soldier, which is a pretty good jaunt, over here to where he landed.
How did he get up in the air?
I imagine they flew on a plane. I don't think he can take
They
off
drop
like that,
him?
can he?
'Cause it's
I don't
like a-
know. I've never done that.
It's like a chair. He's in a chair with a
Right.
fan on the back.
Yeah. I don't know how they get off the ground.
His feet are dangling down.
Yeah.
So when you come down, I mean, I guess he could put his feet up, but you're still like skidding. Boop.
But it was a great opportunity because I met another like-minded person.
Oh, wonderful.
So I went and figured out who he was, and then messaged him and told him he scared me, and that what he was doing was pretty cool. And so I met another like-minded person who,
What do you call that?
I don't know what you call that.
What
No,
did you say?
I said, hey, was that you that flew by me and crashed into the field? And laugh out loud. And he sat back and goes, yep, that was me.
You just said that flew by me, and he said, yep.
Yep. And then we went on to talk about how he's been friends with Adam for a long time, which is the guy that owns the land that he landed on, and said that he asked if he could land, and he said that he could. Oh, interesting. Conserve friend says they run off a hill to launch.
No. He's sitting in a chair. How do you run in a chair?
No, what they probably do, babe, is in the chair, they get the fan going and it pushes them. They drive it off a cliff. That's my bet. What do you think?
I don't know.
You don't agree?
I don't know. I can't imagine anybody having the courage to get in a chair and fly around.
People have the courage to eat at McDonald's.
You're right.
I think that's courage, though.
Lack of knowledge.
Some people have enough courage to send their husband to go buy super expensive Pectin because you ran out when you had a 5-gallon bucket the whole time.
That's not courage.
Nito says, off a hill, a cliff, a building, it all works.
Wow.
No.
That's crazy.
I thought it was cool. Great timing.
Oh, look at that.
Don't forget, if you guys are interested in Faraday bags, EMP Shield's going to start marketing the Apocalypse Faraday bags. It's a little bit away. They're building many of them, and they're filling the shelves. So
They're actually really cool.
Yeah, which would be really, really cool.
And Christmas is coming.
And Christmas is coming. Still working on the deal with 1 Second After. I'll let you guys know how that goes. I don't have any new updates. Free-setting app still out there. We would love to have everybody involved.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool, too.
And then, most importantly, September the 26th. Oh, by the way, I need you to make lodging arrangements for the 25th, 6th, and 7th. Please and thank you. Pat Militich will be out. They're going to do a self-defense seminar. So people do that in the morning, and then our event starts at noon. So then Pat will come over to the event and talk soil health for a while, and just sit down, enjoy, eat, do our thing. And then the following day on Sunday, he's offered to come and to walk people's properties.
Oh, wow.
And see if he can give them advice on how to make the soil better, and those kind of things, on whoever's interested in doing that
Holy smokes.
for the day, which is pretty cool.
That is fantastic. What an opportunity.
Let's see
Sponsored
here.
by State Farm, Kade Meyer,
Yep, sponsored by State Farm, Cape Farm.
Topeka, Kansas.
Yep, that's right. No rebates on anything, and have a clause to increase the fee up to 41% after the second year. It's all because the counties will lose money if it passes in November to raise homestead exemptions. Oh, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Something. Must be a comment up there a little bit. So we'll get through that, and then we will have a Harvest Fest. And I think they've got hay wrap rides planned, and cornhole, and piñatas, and, three-legged races and all that stuff, and, fireworks. And so that ought to be a good time. We have City Edge Barbecue coming to cook.
It's a food truck.
Yeah. Yep. Local barbecue guy. So that ought to be pretty good. So.
And desserts.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah, I think people are bringing desserts. I think that's what they decided.
Mm-hmm.
Fees don't get voted on, taxes do. True that. Right? And there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on, huh? You excited about paying more taxes, Pumpkin?
No.
What do you think you should do about it?
I'm going to the meting.
Are you?
That's for
You're
sure.
going to stand up and talk?
Nope.
Well, how do you expect to make change if you don't?
I'm going
Where's
to
your
be a
opinion?
presence in the room, though.
How do you expect change to be if you're not willing?
I don't think that there's going to be room in the room.
Well, there surely isn't. You believe that?
What?
Say what you said again.
I don't think that there's going to be room in the room to stand. There was standing. There was no room to stand the last meeting.
No, they'll figure it out. They will figure it out. Should we do some good news?
Sure.
Should we? It is that time, I feel. I'm sure you guys are following everything that's going on in the world, but I have some just absolute fabulous financial and economic news for you guys.
Oh,
You like that idea?
that'll be wonderful.
And a way to kind of make you feel better about the increased property taxes. Would you agree? That'd be good.
No,
You want to feel better about it?
I would like to feel better about it.
I am going to help you with that tonight. Did you know that?
Good.
Huge difference between what's happening right now, says Rick J., than what happened in 2008. In 2008, people were losing their jobs, and that's why they were missing payments. We are now fully employed, and people are still missing payments. This is going to be far worse. Finance Lot put out a report out that said the 60-day plus delinquencies on subprime auto mortgage have risen to 6.7%, surpassing the worst months of the 2008 financial crisis. To make matters even better, the participation rate in the U.S. economy has fallen to 61.4%. And what's interesting about that is they haven't seen a 61.4% participation rate in many years. And so more people are leaving the workforce.
Since 1970?
Well, you'd have had to go back to about 1975. Yeah.
Wow.
Which, you know what was happening back then? The oil embargoes, the inflation of the 70s.
Yeah, that was before
Right.
me.
You were born in the 70s, young lady.
Way later in the 70s.
You almost got into the 80s, didn't you?
I almost.
Almost did. Fed decides to make an emergency announcement today at 4:05. This was a couple days ago, okay? Right after the markets close, insider reports that there's an unscheduled emergency session. The Fed was set to officially launch QE. So what happened is there was no buyers for U.S. debt. And so they decided that the best possible solution was to buy it themselves. So the United States government this week, it reintroduced quantitative easing that you guys remember of the 2008, basically the bailouts, except this time they're bailing out themselves. And it's interesting. It's kind of like, you can save the empire or you can save the country, and they're choosing to save the empire, and over that of the country. And so quantitative easing has started, but not just here. They also bought up a bunch of stuff over in Japan because Japan's market is really crashing. But what I think is important to note about this whole bond thing, or a whole bunch of things about it, is that, first of all, the 30-year bond hit 5.29%. That's a ton. The last time that it had hit that level was 2007, which was right before the Great Recession, right before the big housing crash. And so it was 5.29%. And so they figured that what they should do is some quantitative easing. The Treasury just published the exact numbers showing who's walking away from American debt. U.S. Treasuries doubled long bond buybacks from $2 billion to to $4 billion per operation starting September 9th. The 30-year yield was back to 5.33%. National debt crossed 40 trillion, and the Fed chair refuses to cut rates while all of this unfolds. And the reason why he's refusing to cut rates, some would argue, is because it's part of the big fight they have with Trump, and who's PP is bigger, and they just go back and forth, and who cares about the people in the middle. Chinese lowered its holdings to $633 billion in June, which is its lowest holding since guess when? The Great Recession and the housing bubble crash of 2007 and 2008. And so basically, again, they just decided they were going to bail them out. And so they started to do that. The problem is they really had three options during this entire process. So the first thing is they could just cut spending, right? That's option one. The other thing they could do is they could just let the yields run, and what they mean by that is let it raise to 5.3, 5.7, 5.8, 6%, whatever it is, to wherever it ends, and let the market decide. The third option is to just weaken the dollar further. And so by printing. And so what they decided to do is to take out a loan to pay for their old debt. Okay. Do you remember you were talking about this earlier about using one credit card to pay another? Yeah. So they just took a loan out to pay the interest and principal of the old debt, and they bought them back up. again. And so what that pretty much does is that, in my opinion, not a financial advisor, obviously, look for your own advice, but what that tells me is inflation is going to roar back, and the high prices that we're seeing today for things like diesel fuel and most of the things you see in the store, that's just going to continue. And I think prices are going to get much worse, which makes these property tax battles of the county that much more important. Because what happens if, we go through another rapid inflation, like the value of houses, raising 50% in 4 years like it just did. And now the counties are collecting on appraised value.
Yeah.
Right? And so what's the county going to do? Were they just going to keep going until nobody can afford to live in their homes? Or is somebody going to step in and say, wait, we can't do this anymore? Except now their prices are all gone through the roof too. The price for fuel, the price for gravel, the price for everything. And it puts the whole situation in, kind of a pretty bad spot. Yesterday when the Treasury announced the buybacks, the barn market rallied. I got sick to my stomach, says Brian. It's rearranging the chairs on the decks of the Titanic. The real problem is deficits all over the world, and the governments have lost their minds. No amount of financial engineering fixes this. The only thing that will fix it is to stop spending. If governments actually raise taxes to levels needed to fund their current drunken operations, they will kill all the growth and make all the problems even worse. Christopher says, I'm expecting instant multi 100% plus levels of hyperinflation. I'm not joking. The reset is going to be astonishing. JP Morgan issued a warning that while the Treasury's expanded bond buyback program will lower long-term yields temporarily, it won't solve the real problem. The U.S. is running roughly a 6% budget deficit near full employment. National debt has surpassed $40 trillion, and JP Morgan estimates that funding gap exceeds $3.5 trillion in the coming fiscal years. Without meaningful fiscal reform, attempts to suppress yields will undermine the Treasury's regular and predictable approach, raise the term premium, and ultimately push long-term borrowing costs even higher. What they did was just a Band-Aid. And that was according to JP Morgan. Conservative friend says USA loaned Japan money because if not, Japan would cash in our bonds that they hold. They're our number 2 investor. Yes. Well, what they were... Yeah, to explain this, what Conservative Friends is talking about is the reason they bailed Japan out is because Japan was going to get themselves in a spot pretty quick where they had no other choice but to sell U.S. debt, right, and flood it back on the market. And so the U.S. Decided to buy up a bunch of yen and a bunch of stuff over there in order to help prevent them from having a bad day. But this is just like what was going on in 2007, and everybody's scrambling to prop everybody up, right? That kiting checks.
I was going to say, that sounds like...
Kiting
Yeah.
checks. It's kiting checks. It's for anybody who don't know what kiting is, it's like if me and B, we weren't married and we had 2 separate accounts, and I wrote her a $50,000 check and she deposited it in her account, and then that got credited to her account, and then she wrote me a $50,000 check so I could put it in my account to cover the first $50,000 check.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's called kiting. It's a way to kind of manufacture money in a lot of ways. For a short period, right? Until you get busted doing it. Very illegal, by the way. The U.S. can't get its bond market under control. The 30-year Treasury hit 5.34%, highest since 2007. The last time yields were this high, the U.S. economy fell into recession and the stock market crashed 57%. But in under 48 hours, they clawed back to 5.24%, erasing nearly 70% of the drop. So what they're saying is that our country decided they would buy back their debts. They went and bought back their debt thinking it would settle it all down. And within 48 hours, it had already lost 70% of that and had already climbed. And you can see it in the graph right there. So see, babe, right here, this is where they couldn't find a buyer, right? And this is where they invested that money, okay, which drops the rate. Follow me?
Yep.
And so it tricked along, and within 48 hours, it's 70% back up to where it started. So it didn't work. But I do have actually good news for you guys, just so you know. It's really, 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 really important. Scott, which is the guy that runs all this stuff, said that, well, it didn't really work, so we're going to do some more of it. And we'll make it a regular thing. So every time they go and print all this money, guys, it lowers the value of your dollar and it makes everything more expensive. And they committed today that they're just going to go through quantitative easing for a while and, kind of see what happens there. Pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. I found this post to be interesting too. So Scott Bessent is the guy who, is doing all this kind of stuff. And somebody on X asked, who hired George Soros as chief investment officer, who then George Soros gave $2 billion investment to start a hedge fund to run the U.S. Treasury? Was that Obama, Biden, or Trump? To which Gronk replied, it was Trump. Scott Bessent served as the chief investment officer at Soros Fund Management from 2011 to 2015. Soros provided $2 billion in seed capital for Bessett's Key Square Group. Trump nominated him as the Treasury Secretary in November 2024, and he was confirmed in January 2025. So he must, they say the Republicans don't like Soros, but
Right.
I'd argue that might not be true.
Like his money.
Yeah. Conserve Francis Ponzi scheme on a world level. Yes, on a world level. And, what's going to happen, and I really encourage you guys to watch this, because I'll tell you what I'll be, absolutely watching for, will be when Europe, whatever happens to Europe because from a financial perspective, whatever happens in Europe, like let's say they were going to have a big stock market crash. Typically, it's going to happen in front of us, and a lot of times it can take 6 or 8 weeks to get to us. But I always watch Europe, because what happens in Europe typically is headed our way fairly quickly. Squatchy says, I think we already know what happens. The man running a $4.79 trillion bank just issued a major warning. Jamie Dimon laid out 3 risks simultaneously, and none of them are small. Number 1, markets. Market leverage is pretty high. One sudden disruption could rattle everything. So think about that. One subtle disruption, like buying back a bunch of debt, right? China is an adversary. This is number 2. China is an adversary, but what I really worry about is the enemy within. Right. And I actually think I agree. We spent our whole lives, Russia's the bad guy, and we did nuclear drills in school, and China and all of this stuff. And it really seems like the biggest threat to the American people today, it lies from within inside our own borders. This time is different. We have to get our act together quickly. Britain, higher bank taxes threatening to push financial firms out of London. London's got a whole bunch of problems. So they're on the brink of financial collapse, much like America is, much like Japan is. China, China's the exact same boat. A lot of these places around the world, but the other thing that the UK also has is they have all of that, the immigrant issues. They're on the brink of a civil war. They got violence in the streets every single day. It used to be that you'd hear about, the Muslim or immigrant violence over there, but now you're hearing about violence that Brits are kind of fighting back. And so they've got to deal with the all that chaos on the inside, and then also have to deal with all of the stuff going on in the world. And it's even worse for them, which we'll talk about later. From a geopolitical perspective, they're kind of starting to become the boy everybody's going to pick on. So, famine alert. J.P. Morgan also warns of food crisis as agricultural commodities future prices explode. Next global food crisis could begin as early as next year. Food inflation is poised to reaccelerate. And again, this gets back to them printing more and more money, right? And it's going to get more and more expensive for us to do the things, that we want to go do. And but the good news is, guys, everybody knows this. There's no reason why you wouldn't be planting some of your own food. There's no reason you wouldn't take this stuff seriously. Every economic indicator in the world says that it's not good. There's it's funny. I read one today and I thought, oh, here's a good one. I read an article about how overall household debt's decreasing. And although that's true, it's true because people are staying in their homes. They don't want to get rid of their 3% loan to go get a 7% loan, right? So they're buying down their house. But if you take an even deeper look at it and look at things like credit card debt's all-time high, right? You get all these other things. So I couldn't even find that. Yeah, Squatchy says, how about Albania? Citizens are pushing back. Yeah, they're pushing back in a lot of places, aren't they? It's not just Albania. I mean, it's France, it's England, it's, Italy, it's in the Ukraine, it's in Russia, it's in China, it's, many, many, many places are experiencing these things. And then right here in America, how many counties, you guys think about your area, how many counties are pissed at what's going on, and people are starting to write letters to the newspaper? People are starting to do those kinds of things, right? Starting to go to town hall meetings, starting to go to, council meetings. So we have our own kind of uprising, in the United States from that perspective. I've been saying for, a long, 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 long time that the Great Awakening is here.
Yep.
The U.S. is now In the longest homebuyer recession in history, pending home sales fell another 2.3% in July and are now 33% below pre-pandemic norms and down 40% from the pandemic peak. Contract signings have remained depressed for longer than during the entire 2008 to 2011 housing downturn, and now mortgage applications are rolling over again. This suggests that the next 3 to 4 months could bring some of the weakest home sales in this entire cycle. For sellers, that means more competition and potentially aggressive price cuts heading into the fall. Prepare yourself with forecasts with your zip code at Revenue Venture app. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. One thing that I think's super interesting about this, I've been watching some of the contractors are offering rebates and on a home instead of taking the price off. You know why they do that?
No.
So why would you think why would it make sense for a builder to say, hey, I'm going to give you a $50,000 rebate instead of lowering the price $50,000? What's the difference?
Because you can still charge the full price for it.
Yeah, but you're getting the same $50,000 off.
Yeah, but it's the taxes.
It's exactly what it is. It's because with a rebate, your purchase price is still the full amount.
Right.
If you took it off, it would be driving the prices down, which would also show competitors, would also show people in the market what those houses are bringing.
Yeah.
So like, let's say it was $300,000 and the contractor said, I'm going to get you a $50,000 rebate.
Yeah.
Your contract says you paid $300,000.
$300,000.
Right. So that helps in the comparisons and then, all of that kind of stuff as far as housing goes. Homes aren't selling because buyers are finally saying no to overpaying 30 to 50% with a 7% mortgage. It's not that difficult to understand. The market isn't just going to crash, it's going to implode. And if you look here, babe, at the graph on the right, pending home sales index seasonally adjusted. So if you go back, see that really big sharp one?
Yep.
That's COVID.
Yep.
Okay. That's 2020. And then it rebounded pretty quick right into 2021, got really high, right? And then kind of crashed down a whole lot in 2022. And it's pretty much just been down there ever since.
Yeah.
So
Yikes.
that's a depressed.
Our taxes don't show that though.
No, it doesn't show that. Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah.
Because what they're measuring is home sales, not home value.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, they don't want a bunch of home sales that will drive the value down. Again, why they're offering things like rebates, which is insane.
Can you turn the light on?
Yeah. How about that? Oh my goodness, you're white.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The average home buyer is now 59 years old. Think about that. The average home buyer. I bought my first house in my late 20s. You'd have been in your 20s when you bought your first house too.
Yeah.
Yep. The average home buyer is now 59 years old. That is absolutely crazy. Mortgage demand is now worse than during the great financial crisis, worse than 2008, yet sellers are still pricing home like it's 2021 with 3% rates. The math has stopped mathing. Mandy says, talk about enemies from within. We have Muslims trying to take over Michigan, Texas, and spreading from there. I got some stories about that too. Well, let me see here. 84% of realtors. Now, I think this might be a little bit misleading. I'll explain to you why after I read it. But it said 84% of realtors did not sell a home in the first half of 2026. So some of that I think you could explain as, kind of the downturn or whatever it is. But I think there's another side to that too is, and I've never been in the realtor business, but from what I understand, there's a lot of people who get the realtor's license and just never sell anything. So I'm not sure. Interested in what you guys think. Yeah, Squadgy says, my first house, I just turned 19. Right. Florida is now the #1 state for foreclosures in the United States. There are short sales happening everywhere and nearly at every price point, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. The housing market crash is here, and anyone telling you otherwise is lying. But here's the good news, guys. I always bring you good news. We have found a fix for the housing market. In New York, right, advisors from the mayor advisors are pushing socialized housing takeover. They're proposing that housing would be owned by the collective and everyone will be paying 30% of their income. If someone makes $0, they live for free. If someone makes $500,000, they're paying 30% of that. And what they're talking about is housing multiple people in the same dwelling and forcing them into some type of share based
Yeah.
upon your means. Well, you know what happens in that? I can't believe they're not smart enough to figure this out. But you know what happens when all that goes down is the people who are paying the big bills eventually get tired of it. They quit pulling the wagon.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, this is absolutely never going to work. Ever. So stupid. What is happening with U.S. consumers? U.S. household debt declined. This is what I was talking to you guys about earlier. Declined. The decline was driven by mortgage debt, which fell $74 billion, down from $13 trillion. And again, if you had a loan that was at 3% interest, would you be looking to go buy another home that's at the peak of the market, you know, overpriced, whatever it is, at a 7% interest rate?
No.
Right. I think this is a great way to explain that. Historically, the aggregate household debt has rarely declined outside of periods of major financial or economic stress, making this contraction unusual given that risk assets were surging in the second quarter. However, the headline decline masks a more concerning trend. Non-household debt rose $48 billion in the second quarter. That was led by a $28 billion jump in auto loans to an all-time high of $1.71 trillion and a $21 billion raise to credit card debt. American credit card debt's now $1.26 trillion, the second highest ever recorded. So in other words, the consumer may look less leveraged on paper, but the underlying credit data tells a very different story. There's no such thing as growing your way out of the debt. Insane. I think it's insane. What do you think?
I'm just looking at your numbers.
Yeah. Let's see here. We did it. Everyone give yourself a big round of applause. We finally crossed $40 trillion in debt.
Ooh.
Yep, $1.3 trillion per year in interest payments alone. Okay. So if you think about that, $1.3 trillion in interest payments alone, which means we're now paying more on interest than any single category that's out there, maybe except Social Security. I'd have to look at the numbers, but it would be very, very close. And the U.S. government debt is growing at a lick of $2.1 trillion per year and accelerating. You know, and it's interesting if you actually just look, you know, they talk about it, you know, that it's accelerating. If you just look back from 2025, there was 16 trillion added in 18 months, right? I mean, so that's like $880 billion a month. We're vastly approaching the $1 trillion a month number. U.S. interest expense on the national debt is hit the record 1.4 trillion. And in 2020, the cost of servicing U.S. public debt since 2020 is nearly tripled. And if you look at that graph on the bottom, that's what, you know, it cost us to have our debt. And then right about COVID, right? 2020. And then boom, it just, you know, skyrockets from there. And Health Ranger said, remember about 2 years ago when I predicted that soon we would see the national debt increase by $1 trillion per month? Yep, we're almost there. And once we pass that milestone, it will continue to accelerate. This is the last chapter of the dollar and the American empire. Plan accordingly. Let's see here. That 30% rings a bell. I found I had awesome credit when I was 33% in debt of available credit. What a scam. Oh, yeah, isn't that crazy how we're judged at, you know, what kind of a citizen we are by how well we carry debt? Dumb. $4,000 per year per American. That's how much interest we're paying on the debt to foreign banks and countries every single year. So every single year, every one of us that pays taxes owes some other country in some other place with some other agenda $4,000. So I don't know how much $4,000 is to your monthly income. To some people that would be, you know, 2 weeks worth of work. Some people that would be a month's worth of work. Some people that would be 2 months worth of work. But that's how much we're going to donate on average to those foreign countries. Catherine Austin Fitts said most people don't realize that we are entering a phase worse than the Depression. We have the lowest home buyers ever. The average age of a new home buyer is almost 60. The lowest labor market participation in 50 years, right? Remember we talked about that earlier, how it was down to 61.4%. AI layoffs, no job creation, and $40 trillion in debt, which is higher than the total GDP. So I thought I'd have some fun with AI. And so I asked AI, you know, I said, hey, on its current trajectory that we're on, what will the debt be in 2030, 2040, and 2050? And the first number it gave me was out total BS, and you can see it right there in the middle. It said in 2030 that it would be $34 trillion. Well, we just crossed 40, right? So it tried to give me this thinking, I don't know, if it maybe thought I would just, run away or, whatever it was. But so then I said to it, if you look at the top right-hand corner, I've said our debt today is 40 trillion. Your numbers are wrong. And AI says, you're right to call that out. Let's just work with your number and a clear assumption instead of pretending there's one official future. Funny how AI can kind of be rude to you a little bit. If we start at 40 trillion today and assume the debt keeps growing at about the same pace as the last decade, roughly 7% per year, which we've already determined it is far more than that, right? It grew $16 trillion in 18 months, right? So that's a 40% lick. But what it would give me is 7% per year. So you got to kind of try to imagine these numbers are at 7%, but imagine if it was 40. But at 7% growth, it says in 2030 that we will have $52 trillion in debt. By 2040, we'll have 103, and by 2050, we'll have $173 trillion in debt. That's at 7%. So what the 40% really means is take the 40 number and put it all the way up to the 2030 number, meaning $173 trillion in debt, right, in the 2030 mark. Not, probably more than that, not in the 2050 mark. But AI is an interesting thing, shit in, shit out. It's only as good as what it's fed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it tried to convince me that, in 2030, we'd have $34 trillion in debt. And then when I called it out, it got mad at me.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting. Do you like that?
Yeah. Let's work with your number.
With your number and clear assumption instead of pretending there's one official future. You gotta love it. I don't know if anyone else likes that.
I don't like it.
G-Dog said that formula assumes we balance the budget, which we haven't done to 20 and 30 years. Yeah, and we won't, right? Again, I was just super interested in what AI would have to say. Let's see here. Warning, big storm is coming. The U.S. economy has a fatal weakness. Almost no one is watching. By the time it's obvious, it's already going to be too late. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The next crash won't be a global domino chain. I've tracked capital flows for over a decade. We used to obsess over worldwide contagion. That's no longer the real risk. The new danger is sovereign insolvency and not an old school default. I'm talking fiscal dominance, inflation, financial repression, captive buyers forced to hold paper. If you're positioning yourself for another 2008 crash, you're preparing for a crisis that doesn't exist anymore. Because the global banking system has been carved into compartments, Basel III forced foreign banks to ring fence their capital. A blow up in New York no longer drags down London. Emergency markets trade with each other now. The U.S. consumer is no longer the single engine of global growth. This time the U.S. doesn't pull the world down. It goes under by itself. I don't agree with this statement because I think that I think Europe and places like Japan, although what's going on here sucks, I think that it's, worse there. G-Dog says, by the way, welcome in, G-Dog says, last balanced budget was 2001. Oh, you guys are going to love this. This was just super cool, right? Employers are now using your personal data to figure out the lowest salary you'll accept. Researchers call it surveillance wages. Nonprofit law firm Towards Justice found systems that flag whether you've taken out a payday loan or carry a high credit card balance, signals of how badly you need money, and price offer accordingly. So I wonder if that means that they say, okay, this person's in a lot of debt, they'll take less because they're desperate. Or do they say this person's really squared away and has no debt, they have less need, they'll take less? How would you interpret that?
Probably the desperate. They'll work for less.
Yeah, interesting. 63 U.S. banks are on the verge of collapse with staggering losses of $517 billion, according to the FDIC. This is a wake-up call for everyone who still relies on traditional banking systems. Chris Mortensen said, do you understand that there's no end to this until the economy is destroyed, right? If you do, you are in the minority and have taken steps to protect yourself, your family, and your community. If not, I wish you the best of luck. Ouch. You like when people say that?
Best of luck.
Yeah,
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, this one's been really interesting to me too. So, Daily Express and Streamline both put out articles. I think it was yesterday, both talking about how that the U.S. is at risk for, and it's really interesting. They used the same number, but that we're at risk for an 18-month-long blackout that could extend across country, experts claim. And so again, I found 2 separate articles on it, and it seems to me that they're really talking about a lot of the YouTube channel, the prepper kind of news channels have been all over this, pretty much all of today, talking about a potential blackout. But I would really encourage you guys to take an article like this and just think to yourself, what would I do if I had no power? If I had no power for 18 months?
18 months is a really long time.
It's a really long time.
Hauling your own water.
Well, and what's scary about it, depending upon when it happened, like if it happened right now, you'd get 2 winters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If it happened in the summertime.
I'd rather it happened, if you did it in the spring, you'd end up with 2 springs.
Yeah.
2 planting seasons, right? And so, it'd be interesting, but I would ask your family.
I think if they're going to try to kill as many people as they can, they're going to do it 2 winters.
Hard to say, right? But what would you do? I think if you get off live tonight, sit there with your loved ones and ask them, what would we do if we didn't have any power for 18 months? What would that look like?
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm telling you, that would be, even for someone like me who lives off grid, right, that would be rough.
Well, yeah, you're not getting chocolate milk.
No, a gas pump isn't running.
Yeah. You're getting whatever we have here.
Here, the Walmart's cleaned out in 2 days. You had a 18-month blackout. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Let's see here. G-Dog says 12% of mortgages in Minnesota are underwater, and I think that is a low number. Yeah, there's a big run in Colorado right now. G-Dog as well. Let's see here. Edward Braden says, hey, what's up, buddy? Says, I'm good. No power already. Yeah, Stan Gunther says, I haul spring water now. Yeah. Yeah, G-Dog says, need a large community to withstand 18 months. You need a large community to withstand 18 months. This is why I always talk about getting involved locally, guys. This is your insulation.
You like look at them walking distance.
Yeah, well, and there's definitely risk to it. But the other side of it is that if you make a good relationship with the propane guy, if you go into it with tanks full, you probably get some, right? If you walk into, right? I mean, you're putting these layers of insulation around you, because the other side is, and guys, I get it too. There's a whole other side, which is, should you could just hide behind the scenes and not get involved in anything, but then you don't really have anybody except just a couple people around you. So I understand both sides of the argument. But anyway, I think this would be a great thing to think about tonight is what would you do if for 18 months you had no power? Because nothing would run, right?
That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
That a lot of people wouldn't make it.
Most people wouldn't make it. The EMP Commission said that in the event of an EMP, that 90% of the population would be dead in 12 months. And it's not because of the EMP itself, It's because their gas pumps won't pump anymore. It's because there's no insulin to be cold. You're not getting your oxygen. You're not getting your medications. You're not buying animal feed. Where are you going to get it from unless you can harvest it right out of your field, right? And so it's not the actual, what caused the blackout that's the problem. It's that you're not going to be able to resupply anything, So let's see here. Mandy said, do we know the timing of this 18-month blackout? No, what they're saying in the article, Mandy, is that they warn that, like it says, U.S. got risk for an 18-month. And I found it interesting that both places used the same 18-month, and maybe they had the same writer. I don't have any idea. But no, they did not mention anything specific, and of course they won't, and it's probably just another, clickbait thing. But Geog says EMPs take out infrastructure. Right? They take out... they take out a lot of things. Most of it would be infrastructure. The stores can't sell you anything if the cash registers don't have electricity. 100% correct. Another reason just to carry cash, right? Or to have access to cash. Because it won't be good for very long. But for the first day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 without power, people will naturally resort back to it. Now, the smart ones will want gold and silver, right? But in the early on, people I think would probably still take cash. Robert Kiyosaki, he's the guy that wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, says the biggest stock market crash in history is coming in 2026. He was warning about the 2008 crash, and it happened, and now he believes everything is set in motion for it to happen again this year. This article right here that I'm going to read you next, I'm not giving you financial advice, but me and him look at money very similar. Americans will put $2.8 million into their 401k over a career and end up with about $750,000 of actual spending power. If you max out your 401k at $23,500 per year for 30 years and an 8% annual return, you accumulate roughly $2.8 million on paper. But the $2.8 million in 2055 buys what $1.1 million buys today after average inflation of just 3% a year. When the IRS takes 25 to 35% on the way out, after your after-tax inflation adjusted number lands at $750,000. 30 years of locking up capital and zero access during your highest earning decades, a 10% penalty if you touch it before 59 and a half, a menu of mutual funds your employer picked for you, all for $750,000 at retirement age. The 401k was designed in 1978 as a supplement to pensions and Social Security. Pensions are mostly gone. Social Security will almost certainly pay reduced benefits for anyone under 45. For high earners, putting every available dollar into a vehicle you cannot touch for 30 years while ignoring assets that generate cash flow today is an expensive mistake and design. So what he's really kind of try to summarize all this up. Basically what he's saying is by the time you put the money in there, and as they keep doing inflation like they're doing, they're going to inflate all your growth away. So if you think about it like this, 30 years ago, would be, 1995 or whatever. What did a gallon of milk cost in 95? Right? And so when you talk about inflating the value of a dollar, we said what $750,000 will buy today, then it's going to buy, $350,000. Mm-hmm. So you locked up, your money for 30 years to get your butt kicked, basically, is what he's saying. Edward Braden, I will hammer weld your broken seal if you pay with canned goods, 100%. Lesson, everyone needs to learn tax credits when withdrawing income from retirement. Goal is to pay lower taxes than while working. 100% assuming that all of it's there and we just don't get, some kind of IOU, right, along the way somewhere.
Or sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Take one for the team. Do what's in the best interest for your country. Mm-hmm. Ask not what you can do for yourself, but instead what you can do for your country, right? That's how that whole thing will get sold. Promise you. Loan servicer. I thought this would be an interesting topic. We've talked about it a few times. Your monthly student loan payment's $480. Great. I paid $480 every single month for 8 years straight. That's $46,080 total. The loan servicer says that's correct. The guy says, so my initial $40,000 principal's paid off? The loan servicer says, no, your balance is currently $43,200 due to daily compounding interest. So the guy says, I paid $46,000 on a $40,000 loan and I owe more than when I started. The loan service person says, you paid the interest fee to stay compliant. The principal was never touched. The guy says, can I declare bankruptcy like a failed corporation? And the service agreement says, no, federal law uniquely prohibits us from your insolvency because you can't file bankruptcy on a student loan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't take out an education loan. What you signed was a lifetime garnishment agreement designed to yield interest forever without ever touching the balance. This argument goes on all the time about what should we do with student loans. And I've heard many people, even right here on this live, talk about them kids signed them. There's no way that they should forgive them, which, by the way, I agree with halfway. The problem is that these loans are predatory. And so I think the middle ground approach to the student loan debt would be, let's cap interest at 2% and help our young people get a good start in life. Make them pay their debt off, but cap the interest, or maybe do it interest free, I don't know, but I'm not suggesting let them out, but I can tell you guys that this program like this kind of thing here, it's predatory.
Yeah.
We don't let a kid, vote till they reach a certain age. right? Why is it that you can go get a student loan at 17 without even having the ability to vote? Right? Isn't that insane? So when you're thinking about the student loan thing, I would encourage everybody to understand that it's predatory. And there's got to be something better, and not just let them off so the taxpayer has to eat it, but cap the interest rates or something, and try to give our young people a jump start.
Chance.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be big? Elizabeth Warren says that, and can't believe I'm quoting Elizabeth Warren, but says 9 million Americans are in default on student loans as proof of real economic pain. And you add those 9 million Americans to, all the people behind on their car payments and all the people behind on their mortgages and all of those things. But who took out the loans? Nobody forced someone to borrow $100,000 for an expensive school when cheaper colleges, community colleges, and state schools existed. People made choices. Some borrowed more so they could realistically repay, and some chose expensive schools. Some chose degrees that didn't produce enough income to support their debt. There are legitimate cases of fraud, hardship, and people getting screwed, but 9 million people are in default does not magically answer the most basic question. Why would someone who went to a cheaper school, worked through college, already paid off their loans, or never went to college at all be stuck paying for someone else's choices? This is why I wouldn't forgive the debt. Yeah. But I think there is something that can be done about them.
Needs to be done.
Yeah. Built Wealth After 40 said the system is designed so that the interest keeps compounding while the principal barely moves. You can pay for years and still owe more than the day you started. That is not an educational loan. It's a long-term cash flow trap with special legal protection. Let's see here. G-Dog says, if Trump plays 3D chess, maybe he's thinking swinging the pendulum to the right to remove the immigrants. Congress has to pass a law that allows immigrants, if they pay Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, etc., to pay for the future. Nito says, but at the same time, why should those of us who decided not to go to college because we couldn't afford it pay for theirs now? I don't think we should. This is exactly my point, Nitos. I think you got to stick the student with their loan, make some fair deal, but you can't tell me that, paying on a loan, like in this guy's case for 8 years, and his principal's greater than when he started, that's the right answer either. There's got to be some middle ground to this, I would think, Indiana Mike says students are a honeypot for the machine. It's built that way because the powers that shouldn't be want it that way. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And there's just got to be a better system than this. Nitos, I am not suggesting that we pay off their debt for them. I don't think the taxpayer should have to bury that. And furthermore, the student holds some responsibility. They're the ones that sign the contract. But there's got to be something better than what we're doing. I again am in favor of capping the interest rate even at prime, whatever prime is, just cap it right there, and then let them pay it back or something like that. RN, good night to you. I heard student loans are the only loans that aren't forgiven at death, etc. Well, I don't think that they can be.
Follow you.
I don't think. I think the death ends the student loan, because I don't see how they would go after somebody else unless they co-signed or something like that. But Mo says, my daughter won't pay off her loan because her company makes the payments until they don't. Well, as long as they'll make them, right? But I would advise her to be doubling up on them if she can, or whatever it is, and try to get that debt knocked out. Don't let that interest compound. The government stopped interest for years during COVID-19, and most people just stopped paying them. Instead of taking advantage of the deferred interest and paying them down or off. Mm-hmm. Edward said, when things get bad, people will learn to work if they want to eat. If you can prove your worker, you can park your tent on my land and we will survive as a team. And Indiana Mike says, what kind of education doesn't teach basic finance? A predatory one. See, this is my point, right? I think, or even there's another good thing. You want to be proactive. Indiana Mike's got a great idea. Let's force schools, right, to teach a basic, finance class or how student loans work before someone can have a student loan. Let's give them some education because they are kids, right? And we've got to remember they're kids, right? They're not adults. Oh. Anyway. Oh, we get ground beef. There's a lot going on with ground beef. Don't you guys caught all of those stories today?
No.
Oh, yeah, you'll love this.
There's some recalls.
Nope, ground beef is up. Well, there should be. Ground beef is up more than $7 a pound. It's getting ridiculous, which is crazy. But then Trump, because of the whole cattle problem that was going on, Trump decided that he would fix it, and he's coming to our aid. And so as we work, and these are his words, as we work to rebuild the herd, meaning the cattle herd, and help our ranchers for the next 90 days, the United States will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of product for ground beef. Interesting how he said that, of product for ground beef to be imported with no out of quota tariff. We have a commitment that this beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. This deal will reduce prices for all Americans. So let's make sure I got this right.
They got clearance beef?
So what he said is, in my opinion, this screws the rancher, right? But in my opinion, so what he said is we're going to allow up to 300 metric tons of beef to come in from some other country. We're going to price it 25% below the current market prices, forcing the in-state farmers and ranchers to compete at that same 25% number, therefore forcing more American beef growers out of business. Catch that?
That's what I heard.
I would love for someone to explain to me how this decision is a positive. Because I absolutely do not see this as a positive in any way. Mo says she makes the payment to a savings account just in case. Oh, good for her. Nito said, heck, they can't even teach them basic math and reading now. Yeah, the average in America today, the average senior, only 27% are efficient in math. 27%. Yeah, Squatchy says, will completely squeeze the rancher and farmer. Yeah, this is an assault, in my opinion, on American agriculture. Please tell me how this works. I mean, I know that there's big Trump fans out there in my audience. There's some things he does I like, but please explain this one to me. Because I'm having a hard time understanding how this is going to fix anything other than bring in shitty meat from overseas to sell to Americans at a cheaper price, which means they'll buy it because Americans are stupid, right? To make us sicker and to put the American rancher in a bad spot. G-Dog says purposefully manipulating domestic beef markets to help the consumer and screwing the rancher. Yeah, it helps the consumer just from the perspective of their, you don't know where your meat's coming from anymore. I don't know how that's really helping. Maybe I'm a homer and I just think American beef's better. I don't know. Indiana says it's positive for the beef monopolies, crush the little guy and take over. Mo says the beef deal sounds like a New York government-run grocery store. Yeah. Lazy Loper says we raise lamb and have to compete with the lamb coming from Australia and New Zealand. Yeah. G-Dog says market manipulation should be illegal. 100% agreed. Yep. Meat.
It's what's for dinner.
It's what's for dinner. Oh, wait, I forgot one more important story. I can't forget I forgot this. Just in case you guys are super excited about going out and buying some beef. Male cattle are lactating. What are we eating? This is from Redacted. A study of more than 20,000 cattle found that 20% of male steers are lactating at slaughter. One possible cause, hormone growth implants placed in the cattle's ears to accelerate weight gain. More than 90% of feedlot cattle receive these implants, exposing animals to estrogen and progesterone-related compounds. If male cattle are developing this way, what are the downstream effects in the food supply on society? What do you think about that?
That's gross. Really good.
Yeah, G-Dog said male cattle lactating. Yeah, let's just rush down to Walmart and get us some beef. What do you think? I think that sounds absolutely repulsive. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Yep. Doug Casey International, which is someone who I watch from time to time, wrote this after everything that was going on, kind of financially in the world. That debt can topple even the most powerful empires. Whether it's Rome, Spain, France, Britain, or the Soviet Union, excessive debt has played a critical role in the decline. The pattern, the typical pattern in these examples of collapsing empires is stage one, empires achieve success and become overconfident. Number two, overconfidence leads to extravagant spending on luxuries and wars. Number three, empires finance this lavish spending by going further into debt. Number four, the debt grows to an unsustainable level and creates crushing burden. Number five, Empires finance the debt through taxation and currency debasement. Number 6, the population bears the brunt of debt repayment as empires raise taxes and debase the currency to the maximum extent until it causes internal instability. Number 7, empires then cannot finance their militaries because of their debt burden. This is usually the tipping point. Number 8, unfunded militaries plus internal instability makes empires vulnerable to foreign invasion, domestic revolution, civil war, and other existential dangers. Stage 9, the empire collapses. And according to this guy, he says that we're somewhere between stage 6 and 7. But I thought a part of this story, and I won't read the rest of it to you because I'm already at 1 hour and 51 minutes, but that I really want to point out is what he said. He said, the truth is that Trump cannot make America great again any more than Gorbachev could have saved the Soviet Union. And I think that is a super, super good statement. Let's see. G-Dog says, I always heard worthless as a tits on a bowl. I have to rethink this. Yeah.
Oh,
David says,
because
yeah.
they're lactating.
Yeah. Are they identifying as female to avoid slaughter? Maybe. Lazy Loper says, oh, and that lamb coming from outside the U.S. is a fraction of the cost. Gypsy says, I think I'll get my meat from my freezers. Yes, hey, which, by the way, B and I ate our first free man steak, and it was delicious.
It was delicious.
Yeah, Nito says, I remember a study like 30 years ago that the reason our young people were developing earlier was because of the hormones being given in our food. I actually 100% buy that. 100%. I'm going to blow through some of these because I'm running out of time. You guys know a whole bunch of bikers went to Dearborn. It really was kind of a big nothing burger in that the bikers showed up and the migrants that they went up there to stand up to decided they weren't going to come out. There were a few arrests that went on. But again, it was, I think, pretty much a pretty gigantic nothing burger, when it was all said and done. But I did find the British Patriot's statement to be interesting. He said, not all Muslims are terrorists and not all Muslims are pedophiles. Not all Muslims are rapists. That's what we are constantly told. And I say this to myself all the time because it's, I really, really try hard to remember that they're trying to divide us, right? They're trying to keep us all separated all the time. But I think the British Patriot asks a really important question. He says, so here's the simple question. Where are the good ones publicly and consistently calling out the bad ones? And we don't see a lot of that. Now, that may be because the media decides not to carry it. I don't know. But I think that's a great point. McKinney, Texas got rid of their Islamic city councilman. This was a big deal. Lots of riots and stuff going on in LA. Trump calls for a Muslim ban, which again, I think is, pretty dangerous words as far as entering the country until they can figure out what's going on. A pause probably wouldn't be bad. One of the arrests that they did in Dearborn, Michigan was a anti-Islam or protester, but come to find out that, what's the word they would use, was a leftist disguised at it, and they arrested him and hauled him away to a whole bunch of crowds shouting USA, USA, USA. G-Dog says, large tech hopes AI pulls us back to stage 2. Not happening. Stage 2, extravagant spending and wars. Yeah, I don't see how that happens, but maybe. Right. Real quick, Trump threatens to leave NATO again. I'm going to blow through these guys. There is a big battle going on between Russia and Europe and sanctions, and America and Europe and sanctions and threatening NATO, etc. China is jumping all over Japan, saying, "Hey, you do this, you don't do this. We're gonna kick your ass." Basically, China and Russia have both now confirmed that they're supplying weapons to Iran at the moment. So American soldiers, I know they say that there's nobody there, but I promise you there's troops there, and I'll even prove it here in a minute. But, they're being funded there. Russia then threatens to go World War III and strike the United Kingdom. And again, remember I talked about earlier, the United Kingdom's got their population's all pissed off, right? They're going broke fast. They've got the threat of revolution, civil war, bankruptcy, and also from Russia are threatening to bomb them. And the reason they're threatening to bomb them is because Great Britain has been selling long-range missiles to Ukraine, right? It's all just one big gigantic circle. Marjorie Taylor Greene said they continue to openly talk in sessions about using nuclear weapons. Elon Musk posted that civil war in Britain is now inevitable. Let's see here. Iran has threatened Bulgaria that it will get involved. Beijing, what did they do here? Said that Beijing and Russia both said they would ignore American sanctions. Hey, Starla, what's going on? Let's see here. This was interesting. Again, I'll blow through this. The U.S. Army is already killing off its Ukraine-inspired drone battalion. So basically, they had a battalion that they sent over to the Ukraine to learn on drones and to train on drones in combat, which that by itself tells you that there was American troops there, right? I mean, even in the article itself, they says that they rotated through Kyiv, right, training alongside Ukrainian operators, and last spring watched a Ukrainian force playing the adversary beat an American brigade combat team, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, they admit in this article, without actually admitting it, but they admit that American troops have already been in the Ukraine. But we already knew that. How would MTG know they are talking about nuclear weapons without security clearance? She said they are openly talking about them. So with that, I would tell you that means probably more in a public setting than just in some closed-door room. North Korea says that if America attacks the Iranian capital, Tehran, that they will instantly join in. Turkey and Israel are fighting each other. Turkey's threatening to wipe Israel off the map. Israel's telling Turkey they ain't shit. And Turkey is a NATO member. Israel is not a NATO member. So what happens if Israel attacks a NATO country and Turkey, and then Europe is forced to respond? That's a bad deal, potentially. And to top all of that off, I promise you nothing's going on. We should all just go back to sleep. The Pentagon's asking for a $1.5 trillion defense budget. So to put that into perspective, 5 years ago, it was half that. Okay. And 5 years ago, when it was half that, it was 5 times greater than the next country behind it. So why would America be wanting such a large defense budget unless they thought they were going to need it? Again, I'll blow through this one too. Did you guys see this whole story about Lindsay Clancy? Lady who took out an exercise, basically like a jump rope, killed her 3 kids. And there are liberal white women all over doing protests in pink shirts coming to the aid of this woman. Right? Terrifying sights as large amounts of liberal women are storming outside the courthouse to support Lindsay Clancy, who killed her 3 own children. This is madness, right? And glad to finally see that the liberal left is supporting stay-at-home moms, I guess. Completely ridiculous. That's a picture of her. And see those little kids? Yeah, those are the ones that she strangled.
Yeah, I think that there was a thing about, and she's on trial now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's talk of it was the husband who did it and framed the wife because
she admitted to doing it.
She was under the influence, and
she
apparently jumped out the window.
It doesn't matter. When Casey Anthony did what she did, they wanted to hang him in the streets. What was the guy that killed his wife and daughter?
Peterson.
Hang him. People hang him in the streets. This is the insanity of the liberal left. How you can defend this in any way to a lady who admitted to doing it? I don't see how you.
I think she's now saying she didn't, though, isn't she? Isn't she saying?
In a confession, she said she did it. So, yeah, it is a tragedy. Let's see here. Halloween, they're saying they're going to set aside for Deflock America Night because everyone will be in costumes, which is absolutely crazy. Flock cameras are now being used to give speeding tickets, and this has happened in several states. Georgia State Patrol used flock camera image to issue a ticket for holding a cell phone while riding a motorcycle. So we can now start getting tickets from flock cameras. We're also finding flock cameras in places like the middle of golf courses at FedEx, Lowe's, Home Depot. Lowe's is the biggest culprit, by the way. Daytona Beach attorney found that 2 flock cameras were watching nothing but the parking lot of a public gun range. Right? This is crazy. I mean,
parking lot.
Yeah, they want to say this is to read license plates, but see how easy it can get spun, right?
Oh, it caught a guy swinging on a swing at a park.
Starla said, I have a serious question. Is EMP affect a defibrillator or pacemaker in the body or a pain stimulant or pain pump? Probably not. Again, it's still a lot theory, right? But it's such a small thing, and the ability to induce power into it, it doesn't have long lines. Like, for example, if your defibrillator was plugged into the wall, it's very vulnerable, right? Because it could just follow down that line. but like a defibrillator, you plug that in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A pacemaker that's inside your
Oh
body.
no, a defibrillator's in your is in your
Oh, yeah.
pacemaker.
So I don't think it would have any impact. It's just not big enough. Ryan says, I can't wait until this case is over so I can have my wife back. Yeah, it's so sad. She said she did it, but a voice in her head told her to do it, so she isn't responsible. Ridiculous.
I thought she was under the influence. Like she was like, I was told I did it. She didn't have a recollection or something, but.
Yeah, David Strom says, could it be designed to agitate, distract, and divide people? I would answer yes to everything we talked about tonight, David. 100% of everything we talked about. And, everything that I saw, I tried to verify sources, but the truth is, between you and me, David, I don't believe any of it, and yet I believe all of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Saw several flock cameras on poles attached to trucks parked along the interstate in Virginia today. Ugh. I am going to, guys, real quick. I think I can maybe blow through this. Real quick, Ogallala Aquifer is at the lowest levels ever recorded, which is the biggest, freshwater body of water under the United States. This is where Bill Gates bought up a lot of land, was right above all of that. The World Economic Forum says they need to make water a global commodity. So you're not going to own your water anymore. We've got some proof that this was funny. Did you know California lawmakers just said they want to use taxpayer money to fund enclosures so homeless people can masturbate? They also want to use your money so that they can hire hookers for the homeless people because they have needs too. We've completely lost our way.
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to blow through these. Man wields raw steak slap diner in the face at a vegan restaurant, yelling, "If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding."
Yeah.
My kind of guy. And a Kansas woman accused of herding goats through Walmart while drinking margaritas from a jug.
Oh my gosh, that can't be real.
I could be friends with both of those. Anyway, let's sum it up. We're going to get out of here because I'm 2 hours and 2 minutes. Sum up from tonight is 30-year treasuries could not find buyers and rates went past 5%. Government began QE, efforts failed, and the rates climbed back within 48 hours. The Fed announced additional QE. Experts are screaming inflation as a result. Experts predict 401ks will be inflated away. Jamie Dimey predicts it will affect food the most. Home sales are falling. The average home buyer is 59. Foreclosures are increasing to levels worse than 2008. Politicians discussing collective housing efforts. Personal credit card debt is second highest ever recorded. Government's now paying $1.3 trillion per year in interest, $16 trillion added in debt since January 2025, a rate of $880 billion per month. Workforce participation lowest in 50 years. Car delinquency worse than 2008. Employers are using AI to lower salaries. 63 large bank corporations have reported massive losses. Several new agencies are warning us blackout risks for 18 months. U.S. okayed beef imports as ground beef reaches $7.10 per pound. Male cows are lactating. Massive divide in many U.S. cities. See violence becoming commonplace. Trump threatens to leave NATO. Russia and Europe trade sanctions. China and Japan trade sanctions. China and Russia are openly arming Iran. Russia threatens to attack UK. World leaders openly discuss using nuclear weapons. Russia and China openly ignore American sanctions. North Korea increases participation in Ukraine. American requests $1.5 trillion defense budget, more than double from a few years ago. Flock and Axon cameras are now monitoring gun ranges and hardware stores. World Economic Forum announces water belongs to the collective. The Ogallala aquifers at its lowest level on record. Average first birth rate approaches 30, and 34 million men under 30 still remain unmarried. It's a great day. It's a great day, everybody. Ryan Matador says, well, good night. Everything's compartmentalized for a total distraction. And Lazy Loper says, isn't that great? Way to go batshit crazy LA. Right? Mo Engineer says, are you starting to see it's all shit yet? Yeah, I know, buddy.
He predicted that.
Restaurant one day.
Yeah.
And he said, it's all shit. Quote, unquote. Right?
I don't think we were at a restaurant. I think we were at the house.
No, we were in a restaurant in Lawrence. We were upstairs in a restaurant in Lawrence. I remember it very well.
Oh.
I remember thinking, man, what a dick. Anyway. B, you got any parting words before we get out of here?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the devil will always test you. Try to take your time, your mind, your energy, your everything you can. I think that if you concentrate on what you can do and focus on that, grow a tomato, get some food.
Yeah, and I'll just
it away.
add to this and say that we've all got problems. We're all flawed. We all have things that come up. You're not special. Don't get worked up on it. Stay the course. Keep doing what you're doing. And hopefully we've made a lot of decisions, before the time comes we need it. We love you guys. And we'll see you guys in a week.
Yeah.
Okay,